Okay, so that's going good. Where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're live. We're on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Okay. And we're
Starting the
here.
watch party.
See if anybody else is coming on. I see JD, James, and Ryan are on here.
Live on
Live on Facebook?
Yep.
Okay, Facebook's good.
Yep, for 3 minutes, so let's get going.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure we're on. Right now, nobody else is coming in here on Zoom.
All right.
So, all right, so we wanted to welcome everybody to our group, CNJ REIG, for those that don't know us. It's our real estate club. We do monthly meetings the last Wednesday of every month, but with the way things have been going, we're adding meetings here and there with different people, give insight from different places around the country with different topics that most people don't get a chance to talk about or look into.
We bring in extra special guests.
Yes, we do.
We get extra special money for this?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, you might be able to raise enough.
Well, yeah, you never know
Yeah.
who's on the call.
You never know. We have a lot of people that like to invest. So
Right. You know, that's why it's different topics and different information and bringing different people. And, you know, tonight we have the incredible family of B&K Properties on with us to talk about their business, basically. You know, they started out, we met Ken and Barbara. Barbara's not on, but we met Ken and Barbara like 8 years ago. We were talking to Keith about it last week. It was like 8 years ago that we met Paul, and you guys were there. So we met you guys at the same time. So it's been that long, you know, so.
I remember that meeting. It was over there and it was in New Jersey.
Yep.
And I think that was the one I bought about 6 programs.
Yes, yes. And we both said that. We're like, what do they know that we don't, that they're buying all these programs, you know, like, because we weren't, I mean, we had flipped and all, but we weren't that familiar with all these different components of real estate, you know, so we were just getting our feet wet kind of with the exposure to all the different, you know, types of investment opportunities out there. And we just kept seeing you get up and go to the back, and I'm like, man, this guy knows something. You know?
The truth of the matter is out of those 6 programs, we ended up actually using 2 of them. In 3 of the 6, I don't think I ever even opened up the packages. So, you know.
Yeah.
But the two we bought that we used were very instrumental in our growth. So,
yeah, I mean, some of the programs seem good. Some of them are just like, well, you know, there might be something else out there, but you know, it was just back then. It was just like, wow, we're like, and as the years passed, we looked at what you and Barbara were doing with your business, and we were like on the same path, but not as far advanced as you were. You know, so we were on the same wavelength though of like, yeah, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. And when you guys said you were doing the last component, we already had that in mind, and we had already looked at, I think there was a property we looked at land that we were going to do and convert it to exactly what you're doing. But we were just like, I don't know, you know, it was just something that we were like, wow, how would we do this? What are we going to do? How do we got to, you know, so, and then we connected back with Paul and ran into you guys, and you told us, and we were like, wow, I'm like, the similarities are like right there, you know? So, but anyway, I just wanted to give a short introduction to you guys. I mean, we have vendors that sponsor our meeting. Of course, they're not physically, we don't have physical meetings yet. The governor just started lifting things yesterday where he's like, oh, now you can have 50 people in a group, and certain other things are now open. So we'll see when we get back to a regular meeting. But we have one of our vendors is A&A Debris Removal. They do demolition and debris removal and clean outs for people. They have a 20-yard dump truck. They come and do the work, and they leave it spotless, broom swept, nails out of the studs, you know, whatever it is you need them to do. They're registered with the state. They're insured. So they're a totally legit company. And, you know, if anybody needs any of that type of work, they're out there for you. Just give them a call. And then we have Arcade Capital, who is our hard money lender. They lend from fix and flips up to development to commercial properties. I know they came out, being that we've been in this quarantine, they have some new programs that they developed. So, if you need funding or you need refinancing or you need even partnerships, you can reach out to them and give them a call and they'll help you out financially that way. And then we have Villa Homes, and they're an REO broker, and the group team is I think it's Logan team, but Derek is the agent that he's been doing REO for like 30 years. He's been around the block a few times and he's been dealing with it for a long time in different aspects of it. But, so if anybody's looking for an agent to work with on REO properties or regular properties, his team is out there for you. You could just connect with us or look them up or, give us a call and we'll connect you with them that way. So I just want to throw that out there for people that might be interested in any of those services. And we have a lot more when we get back to being physical. We're going to have a lot more vendors out there to bring on board that are going to be giving discounts, giving services to people. So we look to provide services that people can use and need outside of the regular normal stuff. So anyway, I don't want to take up too much time. I wanted to bring on B&K Properties, and we have Ken Tomeko, who is, I guess you would say, the CEO or the head of the company. And we have his two sons, Brian and Kevin, on with us tonight. So I'll hand it over to you guys to give people a background about yourselves and what you guys do and where you came from.
So they volunteered me to start this thing off. So I guess, which I guess is
Wait, how many times have you retired?
Well, I actually, no, I was forced to retire from my job, which was fine. I kind of forced that issue, but I'm currently in a place where I'm trying to become dispensable. And I think that I'm, probably doing an okay job at that. So that's all right. So I never want to totally retire ever, but I would like to be a little less involved, although about a year and a half ago, or a couple of years ago, I guess at this point, they actually asked me to be president of my Rotary Club, and I called the family in and I said, they want me to do this and I like to do it, but if I do that, then I have to step back. And they all said, well, yeah, why don't you do that? And I said, well, the second part of that equation is that when my year's up, I'm not coming back to this level of participation that I'm doing now. So they probably were glad to hear that. But at any rate, so the story is this, is that actually 11 years ago, I knew that my job was going to end because my company got bought out, and they basically said we were going to operate like two companies. I was the CFO of a printing and publishing business, and which is a mature industry that's shrinking all the time. So we started looking for different things, and I knew I didn't want to be an accountant, and it turns out that I should never have been one to start because my personality is not one that lends itself to that. But so we started looking for different things, and we actually just over 11 years ago, it was Memorial Day weekend, I was watching an infomercial on flipping houses, and we signed up, and it was not a great program, but it got us kind of underway, and we ended up buying our first house that following the Friday after Thanksgiving that year. And so we progressed. We've flipped over 150 houses since that point, and owned a bunch of rentals. And Kevin and Brian will go into more details with that. But one of the things I discovered when I was working for corporate America, and I never worked for big corporations, it was always middle, medium size to small, that when their niche started to dry up, they never had a plan. They never had a plan that would sort of, let them survive. And so one of the things that I've always been interested in is diversification. So you'll hear how we've diversified into a lot of different areas of mostly it's been real estate based, although this newest venture we're involved in is it definitely has an element of real estate involved in it, but it's once we get this up and running, it'll be a lot different than things we've done in the past. So yeah, so we flipped over 150 houses. We own self-storage, which if we'd gotten into that earlier, I probably would maybe just be doing that. I don't know. It's such a lucrative business, and it takes very little of our time. We at one point owned close to 50 single-family rental homes. We built new houses. So I was meeting with a buyer doing their walkthrough today of a new house we built.
Yeah, we just signed to close on that this morning.
Yep.
Great. That's awesome. Yep.
So yeah, so we've done that, and now our newest venture, and they'll go. Kevin and Brian will go into this more detail. Is we're building assisted living memory care. It's a smaller. It's not super small, but it's kind of it's not the big facilities now and I'm really glad it's not, because of all the issues that they've been facing. It can house we'll have two buildings, one for memory care, one for assisted living, and they each can house up to 23 residents in each building. I mean, it's a fairly significant, and as far as we're concerned, fairly significant project. It's going to end up being about a $10 million project. So I guess at this point, I'm going to turn this over to whoever was supposed to be next, Kevin or Brian. I can't remember which.
Who flipped a quarter?
Right.
I'll cede to seniority.
So my name is Brian Smako. I'm the son of Ken and part of the family, and I've been in the business since 2011. My background is I studied art photography in school and have a few degrees in photography. So having those art degrees, basically I was a bartender and server. So in 2010, I was living in New Mexico and was approached by my parents to that their business was growing and that their vision had changed. Instead of just doing this to support them and fill in the income that he was going to be losing from being what he was seeing being with the larger business taking over his printing firm and most likely laying him off. He saw that coming. So, but they decided, instead of just doing a couple houses a year, they were going to try and build a family business. So in 2011, I moved back with my then girlfriend back to Virginia. We and started the business full time. Dropped everything, and we learned the real estate business. It was difficult at first, but when we first started the business, it was mostly learning everything and just trying to suck it all in and gain all the knowledge. And that we have spent, the company and Ken and Barbara have spent an untold amount of money on education, and we were able to really learn so much from that. When we first started the business, we picked up a program from, I'm going to forget his name now.
Larry Goins.
Larry Goins, thank you. Guy down in South Carolina.
I was going to say that.
So we took his program, and it was the Filthy Riches program, which really didn't work for us in Virginia, but we adapted that program and changed it so that it worked for us in Virginia. Very much using how he found the houses through HUD, government foreclosures, and we took their system and really just changed it so that it worked for us. Instead of coming in and bidding low bids until HUD comes back and encounters you and then doing stuff, we were going in at our highest and best every time. And we were winning. I think at our best year, we won 36 HUD homes.
Nice.
And it really helped just catapult the company at that point. And so at that point, it was Ken, Barbara, Sinead, and I were all full-time. Soon after that, my sister, Carrie, joined us full-time as well. and at that point, we were just doing rehabs mainly, fix and flips. We owned, I think, 8 rental properties that Ken and Barbara just picked up here and there, and we're just kind of managing or mismanaging really at that point.
Hey. He was talking about me.
Did I say that out loud?
So, the business was going really well, and it was growing. It came to the point where we brought on Carrie's husband, James, brother-in-law. And then eventually we brought on Kevin as well, a few years ago now. But we've had some changes throughout the company. I mean, there's definitely been changes just in this business alone, trying to get houses and stuff. I know it's very hard for most investors right now to find houses. We actually started seeing that, especially within the HUD business and where we were getting the majority of our homes. HUD was changing their guidelines and how they were selling to investors, especially in Virginia. We noticed that about 5 years ago, I think, somewhere around there, where we were they were not discounting the houses as much. They weren't countering. They were countering actually higher than the houses were priced, and they had gone through some changes. So at that point, we, as a company, decided to shift and do a little bit different in the residential portion of our business. And we started picking up rentals. We went from, at the time, was 7 rentals. I think we had gotten rid of 1. We went from 7 to 42 rentals in just under 2 years.
Right.
So really grew that business. And what we did with that is that we were picking up the houses, fixing them up with cash, and then going to the bank and getting them financed. Getting them financed for up to 80% of the appraised value, and we were pulling out the equity or some of the equity on the front end to help run our business, to supplement for the rehabs that we weren't getting at the time. Some of the stuff that we done in the interim or the same time period, we did pick up 2 of the 2 self-storage facilities, which have been wonderful for us. We're able to grow and continue to grow those. And Kevin's work is. He's really been instrumental in running that company or those businesses as of late. But we've had ventures that didn't work. We tried doing a vacation rental business. We got in with a kind of a timeshare company that doesn't advertise their rentals or their house, their villas and stuff like that, and we took a year of our company and we spent a year working on websites and doing wedding shows and doing all kinds of stuff, trying to really get this vacation rental business up and going. And after about a year, it turned out it wasn't going to work. So we decided to scrap it, but just trying to diversify and, putting the time and effort into a project, and finding out, this one didn't work, but we knew that we put as much effort and time and manpower that we needed to do. If it was going to work, it would have worked at that point. But we knew when we had to stop and take a step back and focus our energy on other ventures.
That's,
Yeah, see, that's, paying attention, changing with times.
Yeah, I was listening to what you and Ken were saying, and with Ken, I was in the same position around the same time. I had already gone through corporate America with buyouts and downsizing and layoffs in the past. And when we got into real estate, before I got laid off, that was my thought, hey, this isn't going to last forever. I'm only going to get older. I don't want to keep going through this process. I want to do something that's going to be where I'm in control, So that's one of the reasons why I said I could do this and handle real estate, because I looked out there and said, what else can I do? So that's one of the reasons why we got into real estate as well, was because, you can make money at it. You can control more of it than working a job. And some of the things that Brian was talking about, where that's why I want to have you guys on, was that, hey, you were doing a business with flipping. Ken was saying that you guys went from a certain number of houses up to you've done 150 over the course of a 12-year company span, say. And at times, you increased the amount of flips you were doing and ran into we're not seeing deals. What can we do? And you started purchasing these houses from a different perspective of, we're going to use them as rentals.
Yeah.
So still look for flips, but have rentals coming in so that we have income and we can still make money with the refi, use the equity, do another deal, or put it back into the company with a profit, have the rentals. And now you're actually selling some of them off.
Yes.
You know, I've seen you guys posted on the internet, on Facebook, I should say, social media.
As I said, they
Um,
changed with the times.
Yeah. And
I kind of like follow.
and you know, the storage units, that was a great thing.
That difficulty finding the houses now. So, I mean, it's still that kind of that market where there's so many young investors trying to do that, the rehab and flips, they're driving the prices up. And,
Yeah.
you know, so what we're doing now is, we're taking our rental properties, the ones that we have equity in, and we're just doing a little bit more, putting a little bit extra money into them. And when we go into rentals, we're not putting a coat of paint on and throwing some carpet down. We really do. We come into our rentals and do basically a full rehab. I mean, we're not putting in top of the line stuff in it, but we definitely, with our rentals, we've gone far above what most of the landlords in our area would do to a rental to get someone in the house. So when we go to turn it around and sell it, there's less work for us on this end. But we've just in the last month or so, I think we've sold. Well, we have two rental properties that are closing this month that we just put on the market and sold in hours. So that's been very nice for us. I would love that in my area where I manage about 30 of our rental properties was where we took out most of the equity on the front end. So we're still trying to figure out when we can sell these off and how we can do that and still make a profit, or whether are we going to do it when the assisted living is coming in and we need to take a tax break and we can maybe drop some of these houses off the books for a tax break.
So yeah, so
Strategizing.
yeah, so that was one of the things I was gonna ask you guys. Like, okay, you're selling off some of your rentals.
Gotta let
what's-
Kevin talk too.
What would be the point what is the purpose behind that, I should say, of deciding to start selling off the rentals? Was it bringing more equity into the company, or you just don't want to manage them at this point, or?
Little of both. You know, the ones that we have the money in, the equity, it's, you know, if we can make $30,000 selling it, you know, how long would it take us to make that? It would take us 10 years to make that on a rental. So if we can do that now and drop the property, and then two, the rental business is a lot of work for us as a family business. You know, it's been great for us, and it's allowed us to get to where we are. But we are definitely trying to move away from that business. We're trying to go more commercial.
Okay, so you're changing again from getting out of residential into a more commercial area.
Yeah, and that's where Kevin's part of it.
Okay,
Kevin's deal.
so let's bring Kevin on to talk for a few minutes, for a bit.
Sure. Great. Can you hear me fine? I changed my microphone. All right, good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, Kevin Tomeko, I'm the youngest son here in B&K Properties, also the newest member. My background is I went to school for architecture. So I got my architecture degree, and I spent 12 years doing commercial architecture. You know, some multifamily, a lot of hotels and various other things that are a little less applicable. But, you know, when part of the deal is like I'm doing all the architecture work, and once I got my license, it was kind of like the discussion, it was kind of the right time for me to start to transition out of that and come on with a business. And so I have my license, and that's great. But really it's the experience. So we're doing all these commercial ventures now. And so I kind of have that extra eye for everybody where we're working with a contractor, and every time I talk to him, he's like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Because, you know, with that little bit of extra experience, you know, he's able to kind of talk to me. So every bit of, you know, construction experience you get really does help with, you know, dealing with contractors and such. But as I've come on, though, part of that has been, you know, I've taken over the self-storage, and I've been working on managing that. And while it's not a huge thing, we did our refinance last year. We pulled out money on that because we had, after 5 years, we had just turned those facilities completely around. That was, part of our initial strategy with our self-storage was find something that's, being mismanaged and just really has that upside potential. And so, in the years that we had them, we expanded at one facility and just greatly increased the overall value of that one in terms of just even the number of units we had. And then at the other facility, we turned around the look and the feel of the place, where it had, just all the doors were different. Just things weren't being done right. Everything was a little bit haphazard, and we changed the reputation and the name. I was actually just talking with my the on-site managers today, and they were saying, yeah, we're getting all these good reviews on Google and everything. And yeah, it's true. It's almost everybody that goes in there gives us a 5-star review now, and we've gotten like five of them in the last month, just saying, hey, 5 stars, you guys are great. And a testament to that is just part of our strategy is just to demand that we have quality work going into the facilities, and that we pay attention. And I think that's one of the things that we strive for as our business, is to continue to pay attention to whatever we're into. We're not going to let something fall apart. As Brian was describing with the rentals, we put enough effort into it up front that even the people understand, like, hey, this is a little bit better property than you're used to, and we set that expectation. And that's been one of the things that we've been able to push with our storage facilities, and the workers on site get that. Even through, we had a little bit of trouble with one person. We got them out of there and we replaced them, and things have been, going great here. We actually have, our one facility is about as full as it could be, and we can't even expand anymore. So we're looking at other strategies there. But I think as we've moved into it, we've talked about that assisted living, which was kind of our next phase of moving along and kind of looking at where else can we be? What else can we be in, and something where we know there's a need there. We're always looking for where's the next need? Where's the next possibility for us to fill? And that was one of the things that Barbara and Ken had seen something, and they kind of brought it to us, and we all had to really sit down and say, okay, is this where we want to go? And we knew we wanted to go more into commercial, and this turned out to be the avenue to go forward. Yeah.
So having said that about Barbara and Ken did do the education on the assisted living, and they did bring it to the team. And the plan itself has adapted itself. It originally started as finding a home in Virginia that was big enough that we could rehab and turn into an 8 to 10 bed home, where we would have, one caregiver on at a time, kind of cooking the meals for the residents, and it would be about that scale. We had a house under contract that had a very large garage, and we were, enough beds that we could, with the garage and the beds in the house, we were thinking we were going to make about a bedroom house. And then we went to the county about it, and found out that with the ADA rules that we would have actually had to increase the size, because of so many people in the house. We had to increase the size of the hallways and do all these other things. So if all of a sudden, an 11-bedroom house was no longer an 11-bedroom house. And that's when the plan for the assisted living, it grew and it jumped, and now it's turned into 2 buildings, which each is
23 beds.
23. How big is it? Each is 12,000 square feet, 14?
Yep, just over 12,000.
Just over 12,000 square feet. 23 beds, 23 bathrooms in each full commercial kitchen. We've already hired our administrative assistant over a year ago. We just hired our head chef yesterday.
Which is one of your since you worked in food service so much, that's a
I was an artist. I worked in food service, so I'm designed help design the kitchen, and we're hiring the kitchen staff and stuff. But that's just grown, and we've had to adapt that project because of state regulations. Really, we couldn't do in our state what our coach had done, and I think he was based in Arizona. It just wouldn't work in our state because of regulations, so we had to take it and adapt and change, and that's where we're at now with such a large project. But it's coming along very well.
So would you guys, I just want to say, would you say that everything happens for a reason? So like each, you just did stuff and it's actually, it happened for a reason because now it's like, hey.
I always believe everything happens for a reason. That's just, my faith and my philosophy believes that, that we're put on earth to fulfill a purpose.
Yeah.
And, when my purpose has been fulfilled, I'm going to be called home. So, but yeah, I think it all happened for a reason. And, like I said, like Brian said, we have tried other businesses. They didn't all succeed. The other thing is that I think Kevin referred to us refinancing our storage. So what we actually were looking to sell on 1031, them, each of them together actually as a package. And we had 2 contracts that fell through for various reasons. And then our broker actually came to us, you probably could do very well if you approach this and considered using a security-backed mortgage, which is what we did. And so the appraised value for that came in where we thought it should be. And we ended up walking away. All my investors, we have private investors in this deal, on those deals. And each one of those investors got their entire investment back, plus they made money on top of it. Plus we still have cash flowing business that continues to pay dividends every quarter.
Which is on a non-recourse loan as well.
Right. So
That's what I was going to ask for somebody that didn't know what's a secured,
security-backed mortgages.
Yes.
What happens is a bank will come in and then they'll work with you, but they're going to sell like shares of this out to the general public. It's like, I guess it's a little bit like a REIT, but we had to deal with some big banks, which I really don't particularly like, but and it was a pain in the butt to go through this process. I mean, we would be every week for about 3 months, we would be on a weekly call with 8 different attorneys, and it was always the same attorney that talked, and the rest of them didn't say a word, and we're paying for them, But
Yeah.
we still ended up with an excess of $1 million in our back pocket from that, which then allowed us to actually go and do this project we're doing with assisted living. So everything happened for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you were doing the assisted living, you guys were raising funds for it.
Right.
You were in the process of trying to sell a storage unit, raise funds for that, training and learning the assisted living business.
Right.
And we were like, hey,
Wow. I think you're crazy, but
I don't think I would
Where
sell
do
a
you
storage
get
unit, but
yeah, where'd you get? The whole thing is were you ever scared doing any of this stuff?
Well, yeah, people say, I mean, I actually we sold our first house in this development to a friend of ours who's become a friend actually, and he came over and he occasionally delivers mail that gets sent to our old address. And he was over here a couple of months ago. He said, "Are you getting scared?" I said, "No, I'm too stupid to be afraid." So,
I like it.
What I'm afraid of is that one of the things I'm afraid of is that I won't do what I wanted to do in life. You know, I don't want to look back and say, I wish I'd done this or I wish I'd done that. So, you know, and one of the, you know, when we decided to create a family business, one of the things we wanted to accomplish was basically present an idea to our kids that they didn't have to settle for jobs. You know, if you want to settle for a job, that's fine. You know, there's plenty of people in this country that want to do that. Okay. But you don't have to. And so I think we've succeeded in sharing that philosophy in life. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, going from having a job into a business and bringing your entire family in and being successful at doing that, it's kind of like almost whatever the American dream is all about, you know, not so much having a job, but being able to live in the house you want, have your family be together with you, working a business or working on a farm or whatever, have it, not having to worry about where am I going to get my next meal or money from, because you're in control of it. Working for somebody else, you're not in control of it. You know, you're in the passenger seat or the back seat or the trunk even, depending on where you're at. But I think, like you said, giving them the opportunity to make a choice is really a big thing to have. You know,
Yeah.
most people don't have a choice. They go to a job and they're trained with the old school way of, you know, go to school, get an education, get a good job, but that's all it is, a job, just over broke, right? Like, what happened now? You know, how many people had a job, maybe having a job, less income, no income? Well, they got the supplement coming in, but where are you going to be 6 months from now, right? But you guys are still in control and functioning with your business. That
Business is.
You know, business is multiple parts of-
diversified
yeah.
there.
And,
Right. And I mean, part of the reason we have businesses is also because it's a whole family business. We do have enough people here that we work and function as a team. And one of the things we lightly mentioned and brought up the new home constructions, which James, our brother, Brian and I's brother-in-law, he really heads that up. And, if it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't be there. And that's actually generating a decent amount of revenue for us right now as well. As we're, this will be our second, I think we closed on one just at the beginning of the year, and we've got the second one just closing, which we signed the documents for today. And we have another one already in permitting. It's, all that kind of is fitting together to keep, as we're working on assisted living, which is a major undertaking. It's also taking so much of our efforts. But we have this other thing where James is really also helping generate revenue there with these new home construction to kind of keep us, not all in one basket in that regard too.
Yeah. So one of the things I want you to do is, you're in different areas, but where are you guys at? Where do you live?
So the company it's based in Virginia. It started in Fredericksburg area, Virginia. It's not quite Fredericksburg, but if I told you the city or area, you wouldn't know it.
It's that little town you blink and you're through.
Yeah, even people live in Virginia have never heard of it. So, but we'll say Fredericksburg. Started in Fredericksburg with Barbara and Ken, and then again, Sinead and I joined on in 2011, and we were actually living with them for the first year, learning the business. And then we started buying houses in the Tidewater area, closer to the coast, bottom Norfolk area, bottom east coast of Virginia. So we moved down here, and now I live in Norfolk. And then Kevin's in Richmond, which is a center point between the two. And we buy and sell houses and have rentals all the way from the corridor of where they are all the way down through to where I am at now. Like I said, that 30 of the properties that we have for rentals, or close to 30 of the rentals, are down in my area alone. So that's kind of a large part of my job within this business is managing those rentals.
I have a question for the kids, Kevin and Brian. Have you said, I'm not doing real estate before you got into this?
Oh, before I got into this?
Yeah.
I don't, before I got into this, like I said, I was a waiter. and a bartender. And I was very good at it. I've worked for some celebrity chefs and some of the top restaurants and bars and the different cities that I worked in. I was very, very good at it. I never wanted to be a manager, but where do you grow in that business? Where, you know, you can't sling drinks for the rest of your life. You definitely can't be a bartender because it's just, there's just too much alcohol and consuming, and
Well, you're not supposed
dangerous
to
business to
consume
work
it.
out. Yeah. So there really wasn't a future for me. I really didn't want to be a restaurant manager, and that was really my only option at that point. You know, I moved out to New Mexico to open an art gallery, and I grew up in the DC area, and I had no idea what the recession was until I moved out there. And I was like, oh, this is what they mean by recession. So, you know, I really didn't have much of a future. So I never thought myself going into real estate. I never would have guessed it, but you know, it's a good business. It's, you know, I think for an entrepreneur, it's a wonderful way into this way of life. So.
Yeah, see, our kids, they told us, they're like, I am not doing real estate. So what they do, they went and opened up A&A debris removal.
Still deals with real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin, you went into architecture.
Yeah, it's you know, it's kind of tangential to real estate. I'm on the other side of it now. As you know, before I was the one on one side of the table talking to where I'm at now, and
Yeah.
so it's a similar thing. And so I felt it was a fairly easy transition in some regards. There were certain things, you know, definitely that have been a huge change because it was easy to be a desk jockey and that sort of, you know, in that regard when I was just doing the architecture job. You know, I had my fair share of clients that I kept happy, but I was, I kind of saw, you know, as architects, they don't have all the huge incomes that everybody thinks they do. Yeah.
Otherwise, could you be an architect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to draw.
The firms make a lot of, well, they charge a lot.
They charge a lot.
They don't make a lot of money.
I was
Right.
going to say, yeah, wait a minute, because, you know, for 4 pieces of paper, you know, I'm paying like $6,000.
It's a lot of insurance and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it. But yeah, I mean, I made less money than my wife did. Her, you know, our both first years out of college, and she was a teacher.
Right.
So I outpaced her, but it wasn't, you know, it's like, what is this? So I was excited when presented with the opportunity, and I jumped at it.
Awesome.
Hi, this is Nancy. I have a question for Brian because I know the area that you're in.
Yeah.
Are you finding distressed properties in that area where you're investing?
Not these days. But the properties that we do own down here, we're definitely distressed. It's I mean, if you're asking me if we're finding properties now, no.
Okay.
I've been looking on the HUD site. I've looked MLS. I've talked to multiple real estate agents to send me properties, you know, the second they have them, and
You're not finding it.
I haven't been able. We haven't won a house down here in well over a year. I guess I would have said it would have been a year ago. Thanksgiving was the last house we won. And
So just so what do you think of the market, like say Newport News, Hampton Roads?
are you in the area or are you out of the area, Nancy?
I'm out of the area, but I own I do have a property in the area that I've had forever.
Okay.
And so it's a rental.
Okay.
But I invest in other places
Okay.
because I don't live in the area.
Yeah, they call it the 7 cities down here, and it's, you know, so there's 7 municipalities that are all butted up right against each other. There are good places and bad places in every one of them. Just to be totally honest with you, we own, like I said, we own 30 properties down here. We have done rehabs and sales. Our rehabs and sales down here generally took longer to sell than anywhere else in Virginia or any other house that we've ever owned. Are much longer days on market.
Well, you're also in a very transient area too, because you have a lot of military. Now people don't look so much to buy; they look more to rent.
Yeah.
But I have a rental, and I have it rented by military, so that's why I asked. But I've never been since I acquired that property a long time ago. I've never been able to find anything else. So I was just wondering, since you seem to have quite a number of properties in the area, you know, what your niche is, or what you're seeing that I might not see.
Well, you know, like I said, most of these properties were acquired about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And most of them were acquired through HUD when HUD was still giving deals out. It's a tough area for rentals. I'll be honest with you. I have a number of houses that I wish they were in better neighborhoods. We're not in the war zones. There's a war zone. And definitely one of the worst ones is in Newport News. That's very, very, very known for being an area not to go in. We don't own any in there, but I own some in some other the towns around here that like Portsmouth and stuff that I wish they were better neighborhoods. I thought when we bought them, I thought I saw new construction and new movement in these neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that the neighborhoods were going to improve much quicker than they have, and they've just stalled out. And I wouldn't say they've gotten any worse, but they've definitely not gotten any better. So you know, I'm not saying I wouldn't invest in this area if you find something, but I would caution to be careful.
Are there any parts of that area that you like, that you think are good for investment, and why?
I mean, there's definitely nice parts of Norfolk. There's nice parts of Virginia Beach. Suffolk has got some really nice places. And you can get something further out in Suffolk where it's a little bit further out of the city areas. So it's not as, you know, not as populated. You don't have quite as much of the crime and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. It's not my favorite place in the world. I wish I wasn't living here. So.
And you're in Norfolk?
I'm in Norfolk myself, yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like if you were a little bit more like towards like Hampton and that area, like Yorktown and
Yorktown, Williamsburg, but I'll be honest with you, you're going to have
Pequasson is very nice.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time finding any deals there, though.
Yeah, okay. I haven't heard anybody that's an investor that's in that area. So I was just curious to know.
There's lots of investors down here. Lots of investors down here, and that's why you're not finding any.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. Thank you.
There's a multifamily there. They bought it a couple of years ago in Norfolk, Newport News area.
yeah.
It was definitely a war zone area.
For you actually, you knew the property. You said no to it because of it. It was like, where do you use it or something?
Was
Yeah.
it a townhouse? Was it? Or I think
No, it was apartments.
Oh, it's apartments.
It was apartments, yeah.
Yeah, it's a war zone.
Yeah.
So
you see lots of deals in those areas, but
so one of the things I was going to ask you guys was, I know Ken was more involved with it at that point probably than anybody else in the company, but while you were flipping, what raised your awareness to start looking into another realm of investing at that time?
What was the sign?
Again, seeing other businesses fail because they didn't diversify. You know, I mean, we started looking into the storage, which really was our second business out of flipping, just because I knew that we had to have a different way to make money, you know, and so, you know, we attended 3-day boot camp in Indianapolis, and I think Brian and I went to that together, actually, and it ended up being a great decision. I mean, we have made a lot of money through storage. In fact, we're actually looking at another project right now in Front Royal, Virginia, where I think we thought we were going to do a combination existing facility with land. The existing facility is not going to work, but the land is in a really good spot that I think we can, we're going to be able to build there and do really well. So,
How about the one you were thinking about in Tennessee?
well, that was a deal where we had an investor that had just sold a building. Actually, he was the guy, one of the people I used to work with in the printing, and they had a building there and they sold, and they had like $8 million that they needed to reinvest, do a 1031, and we decided to go a different direction. And we don't have $8 million to put into a deal right now. So, I mean, actually, I'll be honest with you. It's, I think that in the short term, it's not probably all that attractive, but I'll tell you the long-term play for that particular site is really exceptional. So, but we're out of that one. So moving on to something else.
Oh, so you got out of that deal. Okay.
Well, we never really had even sent a letter of intent yet on that one at that point. So
Okay.
we were exploring the possibilities with our investors, and they pretty much said, well, it's too much money. It's taking all our money, and we already have something else that we like. I said, that's fine.
And Scott, to kind of go on from the question you asked, when did we decide we needed to diversify, and that really, I mean, from the get-go of the business, we there was always that idea that we needed to diversify. I mean, I know when I first started the business, there was all the coaching that we were doing and all the different education. That part of the education, we bought a program on judgment recovery. So we actually looked into doing judgment recovery as a business, as a side business. That one didn't pan out. We also had one that was on app development and developing apps, but we got that program a little bit late into that. There was a window, and we weren't in that window. So I think we've always looked to diversify and always looked to see what other options are out there. I mean, we've talked about possibly doing car washes and other businesses like that, and really anything that might be a possibility to help spread the income and generate it, so that when or if something starts to slow down, that we've got stuff to back us up and keep us going.
Yeah. So when you see like a little slowdown, then you're like, all right, so what else can we do now?
Yeah.
And then, well, the
Try
problem
to anticipate before the slowdown occurs.
and that's part of the issue is, I mean, if you wait for that slowdown to occur, you're too far behind at that point.
Right.
You've got to anticipate it, or you've already got to have things in the hopper ready to go, or been working on.
Just out of curiosity, because Ken, you bought like a whole bunch of packages. Brian's seen some of them. Because a lot of people always ask, about how much have you spent on education for real estate? Don't laugh, Kevin. Why is he?
It's in excess of $300,000.
Oh my God. About?
Excess of he says excess of $300,000. I mean, it would have to be easily that. We've done, especially with the coaching with Paul and Keith and them. I mean, we have, every one of the members of the company has gone on their summit.
Yep.
So we've all done their summit and worked with them for a year, and then we had their QLBI coaching, which was a program that they designed from our business, where they came to us three times a year and would meet with us at our house, and we would sit and have a dissect the business and almost on a quarterly basis with just the two of them, just really going through. And we did that with them for years. So it's been, I mean, the amount that they've poured into education I mean, I would say easily $500,000 at this point, if not more.
Now it's they poured into it, so.
Yes.
Or the company did, right?
The company.
Yeah, sure, I'll say the company.
They're all paying for it, but it seems to, you guys are like like where we want to go.
Right.
And I get all that education and mentoring and coaching. To me, I think it's paying off. How do you feel?
Yes.
Yes?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't do the QLBI meetings with Paul and Keith anymore. I wish they've kind of outgrew that.
Yeah.
So, I wish we still had a coach. I mean, I think we as a company have talked about hiring another coach to do that sort of thing. But yeah, the education's been invaluable. I mean, it really has. I mean, the coaching itself, education on its own, and then the coaching as a separate entity has definitely been invaluable. So
I tell you, the other part of that is that the whole QLBI thing is being a family business. There's a lot of moving parts there. Okay, so and it's helped us navigate successfully through those because we have the family in one part and their business partners on the other, and you can't kind of commingle that when you're you've got to separate it. And I think that they helped us kind of, like I said, navigate through that. So.
Yes, I know. We were with the same coach, and if it wasn't for him bringing us, our family didn't even talk. I passed notebooks to my daughter. We stopped talking for a while, and I think coaches actually. Kevin, you're laughing again.
because he's been on many of those
Certainly
meetings
helps.
where it was a day just talking about communication.
Yes, very much so.
We're in the same page. Okay, so we're not so bad.
No family is immune, no matter how well you think you get along or any of that. It's getting that outside viewpoint whenever there's any sort of disagreement, especially when it starts coming into large sums of money and your overall well-being where you're all stuck in it. Having that outside viewpoint is essential.
Yeah, I mean, and it happens in every business. I mean, I even ones that aren't family businesses. I mean, there's that type of coaching and stuff
Up and hang up.
is it's a valuable tool. I mean, and even more so in a family business. We wouldn't be where we were today without it. So.
Want to
Sorry,
shut the phone off.
forgot the other phone. There's only like 5 of them in the house.
Yeah.
And that's without the kids when they're here.
Yeah, so I guess Ken was the instrumental component of building the business up. And like you said, your vision from the start was, okay, we're already in this position of doing the rehabs, and we can't just stay with one leg of a business because if it goes down, then the whole company goes down, right? So your mindset from the start was we're going to have multiple streams of income through this business or multiple resources of the business. And then you just started building from there. And like you said, the storage units came in actually around the same time or before the rentals. And now you're into assisted living. You were building new construction before you got into the assisted living. What's next? Do you have any plans?
Just curious.
Well, one of the things, and I know this has been forgotten, but the challenge was actually that each of the 3 kids were supposed to come to us by June 30th with a different business idea.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where we are with that, but I haven't heard anything.
I've got an idea. I just don't know how we pull it off. But
Well, that's okay.
I want to open it. I think an idea would be a completely vegan fast food restaurant.
Okay.
But it would have to be opened in the right city.
Yes.
But I think it would be a absolute moneymaker.
Yeah. I do agree with you on that. It has to be in the right location. Yeah. And without a doubt, it would definitely be a moneymaker.
And it would have to be almost franchisable. I mean, you would want it franchisable, so it would be a hard business to start off with. But I would think starting off with the idea of having it set up to be franchisable from the get-go would be the way to run that business. So if anybody knows any vegan food distributors, please let me know.
Well, I'm in Jersey. I'd have to research who's in Virginia. Unless you're opening in a different market. See, that's
Oh, I wouldn't open it in Virginia unless I would open it. The closest thing to Virginia I would open it would be in DC.
DC.
Yeah, it would have to be a major. I mean, it have to be a major city. You're not going to get the vegan. You're not going to get the hardcore vegan eaters anywhere other than the
Right.
major city or California or Oregon at this
I
point.
know somebody that they were doing I got to find out if they're still there. They were doing commercial real estate down in DC. So I'll see if they're still there. And if they are, if they know any, because they kind of eat healthy food.
Yeah.
So they might know a vegan distributor down there. I'll reach out to them.
Unless you want to go further north, I would recommend either Philadelphia, Jersey, or New York.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, that's New York, someplace like that. A major metropolitan city would be amazing.
Any of those, or any place where there are major universities.
Yeah.
And
Raleigh,
big
Durham,
ones.
Charlotte.
Yeah, big ones.
Yep.
What about down by Richmond? A lot of people go down there.
Richmond's
Not big.
You're saying
more of the comfort food, and
I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I'm just saying it wouldn't be the cash cow that I know.
no,
It's not what your vision is. That's the whole thing. It's what your vision is, you know?
Definitely northeast.
we want a good proof of concept when we're getting into something new.
Yeah.
Probably work in Miami.
Possibly, yeah. I could see it definitely. I think it would need to start. You know, it really, if I were to do it, I would want to start it out west somewhere. You know,
Oh,
Washington State, Oregon.
You always start with a vegan food truck, go from city to city and see which one likes it the best.
Yeah, you could do that, but I'm not doing that. Because I got to work.
You get to travel, see the world.
This is the concept that I want to build out and then be like, okay, go do it. Yeah.
Actually, Tabitha's idea of a food truck is not bad because there's not a lot of overhead.
Very true, but again,
You
that's
need,
not what
yeah.
I'm doing.
And if you put the truck in the right place, I could tell you, I'm in New York City, and there are food trucks all over the place. I go to Philadelphia a lot as well, and right in Midtown Philadelphia, there's like one truck after the other lined up, and they've got lines, and they do a very good business, and they don't work a lot of hours.
I know the food trucks. It's a wonderful business these days, and I just it's not quite where I want to be. I want to be the investor, building the business, not working the business. And I think with the food trucks, it's a great way for these chefs and stuff that they can go out and make a move on their own to really make the money that and start a name without having to work under a major chef or for a major restaurant. I mean, like I said, I worked in the restaurant business for many years and know quite a few people that have done food carts and food trucks and stuff. And I mean, it's a wonderful way to get out there if you're really a chef or someone looking to do that type of thing. But really, yeah, mine would just be the concept really, and have somebody else run completely with it and franchise it and just sell. Okay, and now we have.
Yeah, you just have to research who's out there in different cities and find out
Sure.
how successful they are.
Well, New York, New Jersey, I mean, you can't
There's
really
a
mess with a
question.
restaurant if you have a good product.
Yeah, Eric was saying that we have Veggie Heaven in New Jersey right now, several locations. I don't know how
I
successful.
mean, New York has a ton of vegan restaurants. So.
Yes, I don't mind a vegan. I know there are lots of vegan restaurants out there. I want literally a vegan fast food.
Yeah, they have a lot of those in New York.
Drive
as well.
through. It's as unhealthy as all the other fast food out there, but it's
But it's vegan.
Vegan.
I have a question for you, if I may. So, in the real estate space, what do you think and thinking about, what's going on with the pandemic now, what direction do you think things are gonna move in?
I mean, it's hard to know at this point. I mean, are we going to start seeing more foreclosures coming up? So are you going to start seeing more rehabbers come back in to the business? It's a large possibility that you might see some of that stuff starting to free back up and getting deals from foreclosures again, because that market might get flooded. But then again, you don't know, because I think this is going to be very different than 2008, where I think banks are and the lending it's going to be very lenient on people for the issues and what's going on, because it was a forced
Situation, not economic.
depression instead of not depression, but
Recession.
recession or forced recession instead of the one that was created by the banks in 2008. So I'm not real sure. I mean, I know that, rentals will always be good. We're still hopeful on the assisted living.
Even with COVID-19 and what's going on in assisted living spaces right now.
Yeah, I mean, we really are. I mean, our like we said, our facility is not going to be one of these large facilities with 200-300 residents in it. It's 2 buildings, 23 people, up to 23 people in each building. So, with the size of the building and everything, we can successfully navigate through some of these,
Yeah.
distancing and rules and really keeping CDC regulations and stuff up with the size of our facility. Are some of these larger facilities going to suffer? Probably. But it's, there's such a large population of people that are getting to that age and to the need that I don't see assisted living and memory care facilities really getting hurt that much, because it's either place a family member in one of those, or you've got to take care of them yourself. And it's just too many people that don't know how to do that, nor do they have the capacity to take care of their loved ones.
Mm-hmm. And the stress level alone is extraordinary, I think.
Oh yeah.
I know, just talking to my mom once a day is stressful, because I see she's failing, and it's hard to deal with that, much less having to be in the same house and listen to the same conversations 24 hours a day versus I'm doing it for a half hour, so, and having to constantly deal with the frustrations and everything that she's, feeling and sharing. And so, yeah, it's, I don't think it's an easy thing to do. And most people can't afford to have in-home care. I mean, I know that, that's Governor Cuomo seems to think that, he wouldn't put his mom in an assisted living, but, he can afford that too.
Yeah.
He's like the mafia.
He can afford 12,000.
Well, I didn't say that.
I did.
I mean, our other businesses, the new construction business. Again, I mean, this is one of the big issues in 2008 was there was a lot of investors that were building and had built a bunch of new homes and were trying to sell them, and then the market dropped out. So I do worry about that side of the business for larger companies that are doing a lot of new construction and have a lot of houses on their books. We luckily, I mean, not luckily, but we, with our new construction, it's not a major division of ours. We're only doing maybe
One at a time.
Yeah, we're doing one at a time. So, it's not wouldn't kill us if the bottom dropped out at that point. But I don't really see that happening from this. Again, how long does it go on? Do we have another outbreak and another forced quarantine could change everything. But the rental business, our self-storage business, we saw a drop.
Only because that drop was only because people were told not to go out.
Not to go out, so they weren't coming in
Right.
to pay for their self-storage. But we've actually had, I don't know if we've had record months the last month or so, but we are definitely
Very strong. Yeah.
very strong, but much higher numbers this year than we were last year at the same time. So.
And the assisted living homes, where are you purchasing them?
Oh, we are building one. It's and again, I'll say the Fredericksburg area. It's the state is called Locust Grove, but it's a small area between Fredericksburg and Culpeper in Virginia. It's kind of a growing area, a little niche area that where Ken and Barbara actually live. So
And you bought land. How much land did you buy again?
It was just under 7 acres.
and building from the ground up.
And
It's exciting.
how much of the land was used for the buildings?
Well, each building is just under 13,000 square feet, and they're really very close to, within a few steps of one another, actually. We have room to expand to at least 2 more buildings.
Yeah.
On the land that we're in.
2 more of the same buildings or something similar size. And then even maybe possibly a smaller office building, or we thought maybe like a adult daycare kind of thing as well on this. We possibility of building 3 other buildings on this lot, but still, not
So you
sure.
have to expand there. So being that you've already gone through this process, it's not completed yet, would it be safe to say that whatever the market condition is, it's another part of the business that can continue because you can build elsewhere, the same model, follow the footsteps, right?
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
now my question would be, I don't know, because I know we talked about it.
How much would you charge us for a franchise?
Well, it was kind of what I was going to say was maybe you could be like a consultant at it and help somebody else build one out while
We'll
you
be the guinea
consult.
pigs.
And it's a way for you to make money without having to actually do all the work in the back end side. The other aspect is if we get hit with another quarantine, if it gets locked down, granted people need a place to live, but how is that financially going to impact people investing money, developing, people living there with the finances the way they are compared to, say, a place that was backed by the government funds?
Well, when you talk about a place is backed by government funds, it's not a place I want my mom to live. Okay, I've seen those places. Okay.
Yeah, they're garbage.
Yeah, they smell bad. They're not well kept, and yeah, I mean it's just not where I want my mom to be.
Because they're not pulling in as much money, they don't have as many carers per resident. So the care, and that's what kind of Ken's getting at. It smells bad. Well, that's because you don't have as many carers to take care of some of this stuff and keep it, the upkeep of the residents and the facility itself. So that the private pay ones are the facilities really when you go in and there's a huge difference and the feeling and everything of the whole residence and facility itself. We did some secret shopping just to see what we were up against in this area, and I went to 6 different places just in the Fredericksburg area, and I kept most of my places to be equivalent to where we feel we want to be as far as a quality of facility. But even there were some a couple that were charging more than what we would charge that I would not have taken my family member to, because they just not that nice, and they just drop exponentially when you get to the government funded ones, because they only are allowed to take in so much money per resident. The government only pays so much, and they're not allowed to ask for much more above and beyond. So it's I forget our caregiver to resident ratio. I think it's going to be 4 to 1 or something, or
5 to 1,
1.
6 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, some of these government subsidized facilities, you're talking 1 to 15 or more. So
Yeah, it was that was one of the things I was questioning, because I was like, well, if you took your model and approached some of the politicians, said, look, this is what it costs to have somebody live here. This is what it costs for somebody to live at the government-run place, which is a crap hole, needs to be redone anyway. And you need new people there because they don't treat people well.
Right.
Would that approach work to get the funding for the ground up start? Maybe not the whole funding, but just some of it, to just say, look, help me build it up. We'll build nicer places and run it the way it should be run, not just the way that it's being run. Because we're going to manage it, not the government. So it's a little bit different way of doing it, but I just didn't know how that would work. Different approach to it,
So what would your overhead be on that?
Overhead on what? On
running a facility like that, because it sounds to me like you have to get private patients and you have to get people that have money.
Yeah.
To be able to come into a place like that. Otherwise, it sounds like your overhead's going to be a lot.
Well, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's not a model that you can do in everywhere in America. I mean, we know that our market is a strong market because we're just outside of, we're still in a commutable area to DC. So there is money in our area. Most of the people that were going to come and probably live in our facility are probably going to own their own homes, and they're probably going to use the sale of those homes to help pay for some of the cost of living. But it's also going to be family members and stuff that are, working in the DC area and stuff. So like I said, I don't think it's a model you can do everywhere, but I also don't believe that we are, as a private pay facility, we're not looking to gouge people's pocketbooks. We're going to make a good profit, but we're also putting all the money and time and effort and care into this facility. We're going to have technology that other facilities just don't employ. A high caregiver to resident ratio. As far as our overhead, I mean, I'm not really sure exactly what our overhead will be. I know Ken's more the financial guy running the numbers and stuff, but we feel strongly that it's a good business to be in. And like I said, we did the secret shopping, and we're going to be right on board with where these other companies and the big guys in our area are doing.
Right. Well, you guys are building homes, not
you're creating
facilities.
homes.
There's a difference between a home and a facility.
Yeah, I mean, our whole concept basically is we want to keep the people active. We don't want people sitting around staring into space in a chair when you walk into our house. Okay, we want them active. We have a number of technologies we're going to be implementing to help us not only take care of the resident, but also to help them be more active. And so, yeah, I mean, just a kind of a crazy idea that I thought was crazy when I first heard it. But the more I thought of it, I thought this is genius. My wife said we should have a sewing machine in here for the residents to use. I thought, a sewing machine? Are you kidding me? But I thought, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, this makes sense.
Good luck finding one in this environment because I've been trying for the last 2 months.
Really?
Find a sewing machine?
Sewing machine.
I can find a sewing machine on Craigslist in an hour.
Yeah.
Good, send it to me. I'm in New York. I would gladly pay for shipping. I looked on Craigslist.
New York is different than everywhere else.
But they sold out because everybody bought them to make their masks.
Well, that's what I was
Well, my mother
Personal
has
mask.
a sewing machine, and my wife has 3 or 4. So
I'll take one off my hands for you.
No, she's gonna charge you big for that sewing machine.
Yeah, so
You're gonna be paying triple.
And Ken, are you in Virginia as well?
yes, we're just west of Fredericksburg in a little place called Locust Grove.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're building the facility right outside of the doors of the lake community that they live in.
I would definitely take a sewing machine off our hands and pay for shipping. You don't know. You go on these websites and they say they have it in stock, and when you go to put your credit card number in, they tell you they're out of stock. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
yeah. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask that are on the call here?
I know someone, just before anybody chimes in and unmutes and all, I know that somebody did ask in the chat that if we could, information about a national coach. Who did we do was the coach that we did for assisted living?
That was Gene Garino at a Phoenix. Okay. And he's the leader of the residential assisted living academy, and they actually do a convention every year in Phoenix as well. But yeah, I mean, he's grown his business. Just being a coach and consultant has been just exponential. I mean, one of the beauties in this industry, basically. I mean, there's, and I've explained this a couple of times, it has a 40-year shelf life, you know, so that was one of the things that kind of drew me to it, just as a business. But the other part was just being able to give back to the seniors, to basically give them, to do something better for them, you know. So that was, I mean, it was such a win-win kind of endeavor that, you know, it was like when I heard it, I thought, oh, this is the answer. This is what, and you know, one of the things you said earlier, I think, Scott, is, you know, what's your next business? We're always keeping our eyes open and our mind open for opportunity. And so we've never gotten like, oh, this is our business and this is what we do, you know. And so, and that's kind of the attitude we've had. But I just love the altruistic portion of it. You know, we're charging money. I understand that, but I also understand these other places are charging money. And when you go into some of these places, or a lot of them actually, people are sitting around staring into space.
Yeah. They're I call them shitholes. They're absolutely, you walk in there, the people are zombies. The people sit there behind a desk looking at the computer, ignoring them. They don't do anything with them. And granted, some of them don't want to, but they don't make an effort. They're there for the money, not what they signed up for, which is they're supposed to be there to care for the people.
Right.
And and this is not even a government-run facility. This is a private facility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they just don't, the people that work there just don't care. They're just like, give me the paycheck. I don't care. You know, you'll have one or two out of the whole crew that really cares about the people, and the rest are just there for the money. And it's sad. And I know you guys, you're like us. We look at it from the perspective of, is this where I would want to live?
Yeah.
What would I want if I were to live at a place? You know, and nobody looks at it that way until they have to put their family there, and then they complain about it. You know,
So,
and that's why
Kevin
we
and
look at it.
Brian, are you, if you have to, are you going to put mom and dad there?
Oh, that's why they're building.
Yeah.
That was their first comment. You better build it good because you're going there.
But at least you know it's a good place. It's a great
Yeah.
place.
I mean,
you know?
grandma's already got a space there, so they're just in the next room. So
And that's my whole thing. Like I sat there and thought about it. We connected with you guys again. You said you're doing it. I'm like, oh, it's incredible because I know the quality of what you guys do. You know, and like you said, you dedicate your time, you put your effort into it, you research it, you do it, and you do it right. You know, you don't do a half-assed job, and you don't do, you know, negligent things, and you're building it the right way. You know,
So
and
that's what I was going to ask. Because you says like you put better quality stuff into everything. So everything you do, your storage units are above, they're 5 stars. Your rentals, you do the same thing. You put everything in there. Do you find it, you get better quality people by doing it?
most
Most of it, yeah.
most of the time, I mean, our rental business, I think we go on about a 10%. 10% of our rentals at any given time are not quality tenants. So I mean, we own about 40 rentals, so we've got about 4 tenants that are not either not paying or not taking care of the house as well as they should. And that's kind of where we've been along the way. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, we've gotten better tenants. You know, with the rehabs, I mean, you know, we try to do those better than the other investors in our area. I don't know if we got much feedback from those, but you know, we have a good reputation for what we've done. But we definitely see that, you know, it's you know, the quality of care it's got to be higher to ask for that. And you know, and I'll be honest with our rental properties, they might be a little bit more expensive than some of the other housing in the area, but I'm also not pricing at the highest. I'm still keeping it at a reasonable rate. But you know, when the people come in and I meet them and sign the lease with them, they know that, you know, the quality's there and that I'm here and I stand behind my product.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not embarrassed to walk down the street.
No, not at all. It's, you know, we make sure there's some good quality products going in there as well, you know.
Now, how about the contractors? Do you have to babysit your contractors?
I mean,
There's silence there.
it depends on the contractor. I mean, we actually have a contractor right now, was a gentleman that we worked with for many, many years, and he was like family to us, and he was our best contractor we ever had, and he impeccable work, just the cleanest work we've ever seen. And he went away for a little while, and he has just come back. And we actually, when he came back into our area, and we actually just hired him on as a salary employee. So he's an in-house contractor for us, and he'll be working, keeping up on the assisted living building when that's finally finished, keeping maintenance on that. But he's doing our maintenance on our rentals. He's helping finish some of our rehabs and fixing up the rentals to sell. So he is not one we have to babysit, but traditionally, most contractors, I'll be honest with you, I'm constantly going through a run of contractors, whether it be plumbers, electricians, general contractors. It's a constant movement of, okay, well, he's been good, he's been good, and now I need to look for somebody else, kind of thing. It's like, okay, I've not had a contractor stay consistent for more than, I'd say, about 2 years throughout the business.
So you're constantly transitioning from contractor to contractor.
Oh,
What does it? They get too busy for you and move on, or they just don't want to work with you, or?
I think it's just a number of different things. I couldn't tell you. I think with the plumbers and electricians, I think they're too busy, and when they have business, they're reluctant to. They'll tell you they can get a job done, but they're reluctant to say that they can't get it done, and then it ends up they're too busy, so then they don't show up when they say they're going to show up, or they're too busy and they won't return phone calls. But then the second they don't have the business, then they're calling you, asking you where the next job is. And for me, that's not. I give you enough business, and I'm honest, and I pay you when I say I'm going to pay you. That for me, that's not how I run my business. If you weren't there for me, if you couldn't at least call me back and tell me, I'm too busy at this point, I can't make it to this job, or just tell me flat out, don't tell me you can get to the job and do it and then not show up for 2 days, because that doesn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
Plumbers always go MIA. We know
Yeah.
that. They're a
Or
special
they're all
breed.
MIA. I have to bring my sister up from Virginia.
I think Kevin actually in Richmond, he has a guy that we've been working with for a few
Yeah.
years.
And
he's actually been really good. And he actually just helped finish up before we brought the Doug back on. He was helping us finish up this other renovation. He's done since I joined the company. I think he did just about everything in my area. But yeah,
we haven't had a lot.
I got lucky.
Yeah, and you did get lucky. We haven't had a lot of work for him. We haven't kept him busy.
No.
Down here in my area, I've had enough work for people to keep them busy.
Yeah.
Where you were basically, I was your main,
Yeah, just the
I
way-
was your main
yeah.
source of income, and you didn't have to go out and advertise for it, but yet quality work starting to go down, and you're not showing up, or it's taking too long to finish the job, and I just can't do it anymore. I mean, the last one that I just got rid of was an HVAC guy. He was gas certified. We had a hot water heater go out right at the beginning of the COVID. I had a tankless hot water unit, and all of a sudden this family of 6 is all at home, and they're all taking showers, using the dishwasher and the washing machine all at the same time, and they burned out my tankless hot water unit. The HVAC guy said he could get there that day. He didn't show up for 2 days after that. He showed up. He ordered the part. He ordered the wrong part. That finally came in. It was it was like 9 days later after this. The part came in, it was wrong, so he had to reorder the part. At this point, my tenant hasn't had hot water for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had an empty house, another house very close by, that it was just about to go on the rental market, and I took it off the market so that she could go and shower and wash dishes in this house. So.
Yeah.
At least you have the ability to do that. That
Yeah.
was nice of you guys.
So we did have a question about
Yeah.
self-storage. Someone, I think name was Lisa. had a
Lisa,
question
yes.
about that. So if I were starting out in self-storage, I would contact a guy named Scott Myers.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this guy is, you can't ask for a more genuine person He's really a quality person, and his family does mission trips, and you'll know when you first meet him that he has a lot of integrity. So, and that's something that is big in my book, and you know, I think Scott knows and Tabitha both know that that was one of the reasons that we started working with Paul, that he's a man of integrity. So, yeah, so Scott Myers at Indianapolis, he does a self-storage academy. He does boot camps 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times a year. I don't know.
I think they're doing some online stuff right now.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull up an email.
Yeah, but I think most people are at this point.
Yeah.
So we got a hold of him, and we signed up for kind of a quasi coaching program. We didn't need his entire program, and so we negotiated with him, and we ended up using one of his brokers. His name is Jesse Luke, and it was like, I don't know, it's either the first or second call, and he said, we said, well, we want something in Virginia. And so he calls and said, this is, here's an example of what we were looking for. And he starts talking about this deal down in Georgia. And 5 minutes into the conversation, I interrupted him. I said, can I bid on that one? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. And we bought that one. And the year later, we bought another one 4 miles away from the first one. And, we have about 1,000 doors down there, and it's been a really good find. I wish like I said, we had gotten involved in self-storage much earlier. But it's not the cap rates. If you understand cap rates, the lower the cap rate, or the higher the cap rate is, it's more it's a better buy.
Right.
So the cap rates are real low now. So, and I don't know how much longer before there's a correction, but I think one's coming eventually. So just keep
an eye out on that. Yeah, commercial property in general right now, the cap rates are swimming sometimes, in the highs in the 7s, but generally a little bit lower than that. You've even seen stuff for sale in the 3s, which is ridiculous. I don't know how you're making any money off a cap rate or something in the 3s.
Yeah. Sometimes they're not looking to make cash flow. They're just looking to park money.
Yeah, put their money somewhere else because they're doing an exchange or something. Yeah.
Yep. They just need to move their money in or put it into something so they don't pay taxes. And then they'll, within a year or so, transition it out somehow.
So I just, in the Zoom meeting, I posted a link to it. Selfstorageinvesting.com.
Cool. Thanks.
Just as I was typing, Kevin is looking.
So you guys are like commercial. You like cash flow?
Absolutely.
So so what other types of business ventures that create cash flow would you be interested in getting involved in? Like a lot of people are right now getting into apartment complexes and apartment buildings because of cash flow. Mixed use is another one.
Or strip malls. How do you feel about them? Yes, yes, and yes. Brian's like, I'll take it all.
Ken doesn't like the strip malls. Ken is he's of the opinion that and I think he has somewhat of a valid point in the opinion that the shopping centers and on-site shops are in a bit of a desperate situation now with the online shopping and everything. I do think that there's always going to be a need for the strip malls. I think that it's going to be more of a personalized or local vendors that will need them. But I think that with strip malls, I think that you do need to be careful right now with some of your strip malls that have some of these larger anchor stores. I think that's where some of the risk is right now, because if you have a larger anchor store, generally you're not making much money on their rent anyways, because they usually negotiate a lower rent per square foot. So you're not making much money on them in the first place, but there's a big risk of them just moving out, and then you've got a huge space that you don't know what you're going to do with. We've with our one self-storage facility, actually down in one of the self-storage facility actually used to be a Kmart that was converted into self-storage.
See, I said
They
that.
wanted too much money for the one here.
They wanted 10 million for the Kmart up here.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
'Cause you still have to convert it, and then you still have to hope the roof's in good condition.
Yeah.
But that's always a possibility if you do buy a strip mall, and as long as you know that you can it's zoned or that the county or city would be advantageous to you putting in the self-storage. It's a great way to use that large amount of space, and you can make a lot more money per square foot with self-storage than you can with any type of retail. So I mean, there's definitely I think that strip malls are a possibility, but as a company, we've kind of stayed away from them. Apartment buildings we've looked at in the past, and we've stayed away from them only because we with our single family home rentals, our return was a little bit better. So for every $100,000 invested, we found that for every $100,000 we can invest in a single family home versus a multifamily, our return was just a little bit better. We usually generally make somewhere around $300 a door above debt service a month on our single family homes. With apartment buildings and multifamily, we were seeing that the numbers were closer to $200 a door. And I know there's a lot less work. You can put a manager in there, so maybe you don't even have nearly as much work if you've got a good manager that's living in the facility or full time in that facility. We just, at the time when we were looking at apartment buildings, it just made more sense for us to do more than single family.
Okay.
Cool.
But
You
if we found the right deal, we'd be all about it.
Yeah.
Does anybody have questions? I don't know what's on Facebook. Anything?
Nope.
Nothing?
No questions. Everybody was just
Everybody just
listening,
listening.
soaking it in.
Here's another thing I could throw at you guys, because you've already been doing it with building. Have you looked at like developing or redevelopment at all?
Doing what again? I didn't catch it.
Have
Yeah.
you thought about doing like land developing or redeveloping something and converting it into something else? Like over here by us, they're knocking down so many malls, and they're going to put in mixed-use buildings and all different kinds of big projects over there, parking deck for the bus and a movie theater and a hotel and things like that. And then another area is going to be apartment complex. Have you ever thought about that? Or maybe thing that just popped into my head was like maybe getting some land and developing it for like Amazon or Wayfair or something in the area, you know, and, getting cash flow or selling the land off once it's built. You know,
We
collect
actually
on that.
we were considering a project a couple of years ago where we were going to do a mixed use of storage and doing the cloud buildings.
Server farm.
Was it, Kevin?
A server, basically a server
Yeah.
farm.
Oh, gotcha.
We just couldn't make the numbers work at that point. But yeah, so, I mean, there's an area up near where my mother-in-law lives that there are building after building after building of these places where they're housing all this information. And
Yeah, it's
I'm wondering when the computers, they don't need to do that anymore, what they're going to do with these buildings. So,
Yeah. Well, more people are shopping online. There's going to be
Yeah.
more use for, you know, these data centers
yeah.
where they house all the, and, you know, even though technology is shrinking it, it's going to increase because there's more people shopping and more data flow going through everything. So they're going to have to increase the capacity and the locations where they're putting the data. So,
I think a lot of people aren't going to go back out into the work world. They're kind of getting used to doing it all from home.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. What are they going to do with all these office buildings? Although I think that there will be still some use for the office buildings. And if they continue with the idea of social distancing, that they can bring in people in you know, a couple of days a week and maintain the office that way. But I wouldn't be surprised if office buildings started to have difficulty renting all their space as well.
yeah,
Time for repurposing.
that's what I was just going to say. Yeah. I was like, it's just a matter of coming up. How could you repurpose the office building? How big is it? What can you do with the space? If you can figure out something to do with it.
A lot of these are potentially going to medical offices and that sort of stuff. That's a, you know, some of the, in my commercial realm, it was, you know, the medical office building. There's one developer that was just, that was his thing all of a sudden, is, you know, the standard commercial office building, especially where I live, because of Circuit City closing down, nobody was building them, period.
Yeah.
But medical office buildings, because, you know, there's a tiny bit of, you know, you need to do a little bit of redevelopment if you're picking up a regular office, or they have slightly different, you know, requirements. That was something people were getting into.
So from an architect's stance, if you took a Kmart and converted it to a storage unit, how difficult is that? Because wouldn't there be like 2 floors in it?
No,
Yeah. You
no,
do want,
single story.
I mean, Kevin, you want to go on?
I mean, that is what we did at, or what we picked up at this other facility is, yeah, I mean, you got these really high ceilings, but a lot of those old Kmart's, the ceilings were only, you know, 12 feet high or whatever.
Okay.
You're not putting a double thing in, you know, second level in there, because they've already got all the duct work run and everything else, and then that just becomes not effective to try to put in a second level there. You're really just sticking with a single level. Your Kmart's are generally big enough to support a facility large enough to create the income that you need. You know, you're going to get, you know, anywhere between 60 and, you know, 100,000 square feet. And then that converts into, you know, maybe 75, 80% efficiency. And you get your, you know, your 40 to, you know, however many square feet that goes up to, but you're not doubling up on those when you're doing a conversion. Like
What
that.
you're usually doing is that you can build it out much easier. It's actually cheaper to build inside because one, you've got it's climate controlled because it's a Kmart. So you've got the ceiling, it's climate controlled. You've got your duct work. Generally you'll have a sprinkler system. You might have to do some repairs, upgrades on it. But what you're doing is when you build inside of it is that you might build the normal walls, but your ceiling, you're just using a fencing ceiling that's made out of
Gotcha.
chain-link fence. So it's actually a lot cheaper to build inside, much cheaper.
Yeah.
You're not putting an
okay.
actual ceiling on it. You're just
Yeah,
using like a
because
chain
I'm
link
thinking
fence.
like
Yeah.
the Kmart up there, they got that big,
Well, yeah, we got a
huge
2-story Kmart.
ceiling, and then if
Yeah.
You're not
I
going to
mean, you could do that. And actually, if anybody goes in and talks to Scott Meyer, he has a really interesting concept that he was working on the last time I talked with him about doing a multi-story thing where he was bringing shipping containers into a empty shell building.
ooh, see, they're smoking fart.
And that was his baby. That was at the time. I haven't really kept up with what he did, but it sounded like a really smart idea because the shipping containers are structurally sound.
Mhm.
So all you have to do is do a quick span between them for a little bit of a walking surface.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not building, you know, columns and, you know, load-bearing walls and such.
Yeah, see, they brought a bunch in around the corner, you know, next town over for little housings. They're making little apartments in them.
Yeah.
In the town.
We
Yep.
our one facility, the first facility we bought, we had it was a large old pole barn that had originally had been a pole barn at some point, and the people that owned it originally had made large storage places, units in this pole barn, and it was absolutely it wasn't structured right. The roof was just caving in. It was just not. It was a mess. So we tore that down, and in the process of doing that, we actually had shipping containers converted into self-storage and to take the tenants that were in the pole barn and put them into that as a to move them over. And for self-storage, they work really well. I mean, one, especially on being outside, so we don't have the regulations because it's not a permanent building. So all the setbacks and stuff we didn't have to worry about. They're cheaper. At the time they were cheaper. They were not super cheap, but they were cheaper to do that than to build something from the ground up.
Right.
So we did that with self-storage, or not with the shipping containers.
Cool.
Yeah, they essentially function as sheds or, you know, movable structures. So yeah, you're not held down by getting permits and sometimes even setbacks.
Right. They're not
Yeah.
permanent structures.
Yep.
They're movable.
Good idea.
Need a truck or a crane, but they're still movable.
Yeah.
They're not bolted down.
Yeah,
That's cool.
good idea. All right, I know we won't.
Way over.
Way over past the
Way over
hour.
past the hour mark. I don't see anybody with questions. I haven't seen anything for a bit.
No, I got
So-
nothing. Everybody just soaking it all up. Everybody waved. They said hi.
Guys, thank you for the comment that we're awesome. I don't know.
You guys are
Yeah,
Well, you
awesome.
guys are awesome. I mean,
You think outside the box. You guys go from one to the other. You like jump in. You take action. So yeah, of course, you guys are totally awesome.
And we're happy to talk to anybody and share anything we've learned over the years with everybody. It's,
yeah, we still have to get down there.
Yeah, we have a trip planned after
We had
the
a trip.
wedding.
Yeah, we had a trip planned after the wedding, and then we got locked in, and we're like, okay, so we're gonna have to wait. And
yeah.
I know you guys been busy with we didn't push it
Yeah.
either because you're busy with the facility that you're building. So the home, I should say.
That's one of the things we want to come down. We want to see, and we have to
Right.
stop at a couple states along the way.
Well, you can see how it's going, just about every week. We've been posting videos and photos as we're going along. You can watch as I explain, some of what we're doing every week on Facebook with the Trinity Senior Village Facebook
Yep.
page.
Trinity Senior
I was gonna
Village.
say I haven't seen it. I seen a couple, and then I was like, "Where did everything go?"
Yeah, you got to follow Trinity Senior Village.
Yeah, it might have been B&K Properties you were following. So
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
stuff is posted there, but we've kind of separated the two.
Okay.
Which we really should be posting it everywhere. There's no reason not to, but that's probably what happened is you probably a following or like B&K Properties.
Oh, you know what? You got to hook up with Scott. He's got that web talk thing, so you post one and it goes to all.
Yeah,
One and done.
when done. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new it's been around for a while, but nobody promoted it until a few months ago. It's called
Okay.
Web Talk, and it's a social media platform, but it's more like LinkedIn than Facebook. But they're going to have all the tools that Facebook and LinkedIn combined have, and outside of capabilities, their own app. They're bringing in their own video tools so that you can do webinars and meetings and such. It's free to join, but when you do a post like that, right now you can post inside the tool itself, and it goes to, you could choose, but it goes to Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and some other one other site. I forget what it is. I don't use it, so I'm not sure what it is. And
it's
they're
nice
bringing
that those link-
Instagram and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, if you go into all those, I mean, because I know that Sinead, she still works and does our social media, and the platform that she uses generally when she'll do something, she might do it on Instagram because she can share that to Facebook and stuff like that. But the ones that almost never get shared to is LinkedIn. Is the one that never gets a share. No
yeah.
matter what platform you're on, it seems like most platforms won't share to LinkedIn.
Well, when I do the meeting here, I join Web Talk for that reason. So now I post it in Web Talk and it goes out. But I used to go to Facebook, go to my group in Facebook, go to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Then I haven't used Instagram, but I got to start using that and get involved with that. So that's why I looked at it and said Web Talk is easy because you just put it on there and it
once.
pushes it out to all the places,
Yeah. One and done. So,
And then when they start putting all
Alright.
the tools in, it'll be that much more useful.
Yeah.
So.
all right,
But
guys.
yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on and talking.
You
No
had
questions.
a ton of people on watch.
And a ton of people on Facebook. We usually get a little bit here and more on the Facebook side because it's streaming. Nobody has to log into an app,
Yeah.
They just watch it on Facebook.
Yeah,
But-
you're on Watch Party, you're on Watch Live, and you're on Zoom Live.
Well, hello everyone.
So
Everybody says hi.
we appreciate you guys coming on and spending time with us talking about your business and, the different legs and what you guys do and how you work as a family and you've grown. And we appreciate all the information.
Guys,
As
rock.
always, Scott and Tabitha, it's been fun. And so thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming and doing this.
Absolute
You
pleasure.
guys
It was
to
great.
definitely stay safe,
You guys as well.
everybody healthy. Tell mom we said hi.
Yeah, tell Mom and Carrie that we said hi, and everybody else. I haven't talked to Carrie in a while.
Yeah, true. We
Everybody else had another webinar or something else was going on tonight. So
Yeah,
it was a busy night for us. Yeah.
yeah,
well, it's every night. That's
Yeah.
why he's like, you want to do this every week? And I was like, no.
no.
No, yeah.
Well, we don't have any planned. I said we'll just do our monthly meeting, and then they're
Some
starting to
special
open things,
guests,
and
so-
we'll just bring people on and do it that way.
So
Yeah, we'll stay in touch with you guys, and
definitely.
when things hopefully are safer, we can make a trip down when you guys have a little more time too.
That would be amazing.
Great. Yep.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Good night, all.
Okay, thanks for
Okay.
joining again.
Bye, everybody on Facebook.
I'm gonna
All
stop.
right.
recording.
Take care.